If you've got a conviction for fraud, it's going to be a problem. Lenders tend to not to want to receive mortgage applications from people who've got a fraud conviction. You can't do that without a network. You can't just go, I've got CMAP and someone show me how to do it, because you've got nobody supervising. The guarantee is, if you don't get 3 times the amount you paid for that business boost in commissions in the first year, we give you 6 months free membership to the network as well.
I've brought on today the director of training for Connect for Intermediaries. Now, Connect for Intermediaries, people who don't know what this is, they are a network. They are a mortgage network. So a lot of you listening to this won't potentially know what a network is. And if you do know what a network is, then good. And if not, Jim will tell us what it is. But they're not just any network. They're actually quite a bespoke specialist network. And they offer a range of crazy, weird and wonderful things. Jim's been on my main podcast, and he actually dropped some bombshells on there that made me, as soon as the show finished, I was like, you have to come on and talk about this to you guys, because the stuff they do for new starters is insane, like absolutely insane. And he's going to be able to answer questions that I myself wouldn't be able to answer because it's not my wheelhouse. And so I'm really excited. He's going to be talking all about training academies and also potentially how you can set up without CAS, which is really rare. And in fact, I have a video that came out a couple of weeks ago saying that wasn't possible. I think actually, Jim, who's on the he'll remember, I think I said I'd done the video the morning and posted it. And then I jumped on the podcast with you, and you're like, yeah, we have a way to do that. And I was like, wow, I feel really stupid now. So that's great. But Jim, mate, welcome to the show.
Hello, nice to see you again, Ash.
So for people who don't know who you are, just and what Connect is, just give us a bit of a background. Give us your background first,
yep,
and then give us what Connect is so they can understand.
Cool. Yeah. Hello all. As Ash has said, my name's Jim Selly. I'm Director of Training at Connect for Intermediaries. So me, I am a former broker. I was a broker myself for a period of time. I worked for a firm that you guys who are looking to get into the industry may well have come across, which is a firm called L&C Mortgages. I was a broker for them initially, and I went into them completely inexperienced in the industry, got my CMAP, started broking on their model as an employed advisor of them. I then did various roles with them in various management functions, looking after teams, etc., till I transitioned more onto the training and induction side, which is where my career has gone from there. So the training and induction of new advisors. So the way I've always looked at it is, I will say, you come into me, and whether you've got CMAP or not, I can teach you to be a mortgage advisor. I say that's rather arrogant, with the support of the team around me and the rest of the help we've got now at Connect. So I did that for a while with L&C, which was obviously taking people on an employed model. All right. But now I am with Connect, who are a mortgage network, as Ash has alluded to. What a mortgage network is generally for guys who want to be on a self-employed basis, all right, who want to set up their own brokerage firm. And a mortgage network will basically do your authorization with the FCA, be a level of protection between you and the FCA rather than getting directly authorized, which is hard and pain. All right, trust me on that one. Okay, so we effectively take responsibility for your compliance, is a strong word. Obviously, there's still responsibility for compliance on you guys, but we will coach you and support you with that and be an extra level of protection. You've got your PI cover through us, etc. Okay, so that onboards you. So we're looking to that now. There are a lot of mortgage networks out there. I'm not going to pretend we're you're the only ones, and you will have heard probably some of the names because they're bigger than us if you've been looking around at this sort of thing. As Ash has rightly said, where I think we're a little bit unique, okay, is I think a lot of people go into this industry with a view to being self-employed and doing it. You want to run your own business. It's a great career for that. It offers loads of flexibilities. You can work your own hours. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you can work your own hours and it offers all those opportunities. Okay. So you want to be self-employed, great. But what most networks want, is Ash has alluded to, is a full CAS status advisor. All right, CAS, I shouldn't say CAS status. That's like saying ATM machine.
That's the hardest way, because I always say CAS status and realize that the S is status.
Yeah,
and exactly. I do this on every single video whenever I'm doing stuff for this, for the people who are getting qualified. And I always think, such an idiot. Why did you say that?
Yeah. So let me.
The only one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so you must have competent advisor status. All right. Now, what that means is competent advisor status is you've gone through a certain amount of checks, typically from a network or an employer or something along those lines. You've done a certain number of cases, etc., and you've been signed off to get competent advisor status. Would probably take typically around about a year of being in a job, all right, to get that. But how do you get that? Unless you're joining a firm that's already with a network, all right, there's your battle. And then we're back in the employed scenario, okay? Although mortgage broking is weird because you have an awful lot of people that are self-employed but work for someone. Still can't get my head around that, but there you go. Okay, so let's say you want to start up your own business. I want to start up Jim Selling Mortgages, or we want to start up Ashball and Mortgages from scratch. I'm fresh out of CMAP. What do? You can come to us and we will take you on without competent advisor status. So I guess that's one of the first unique things that I dropped on Ash the other day. Okay, yeah, we can take you on and we will assist you to get to your competent advisor status with our training and support, etc. Okay. So that's the bit on the CAS status. Do I dive in and talk about the other unique bits at this point?
Yeah, so we can do. So before we dive into that, let's just go a little bit because there's so much unique things that Connect offer, and especially for this audience. So this idea of you saying you can set up without CAS. So that is incredibly rare. I just need people to understand that it's incredibly rare. And you said also that you can do it without going to an employed role, which again is really like rare. Again, that was the video I made, was that most people will go to Connells or L&C, or they'll go to somewhere, these larger companies, and get their CAS. So how does that look for you when someone goes to Connect for Intermediaries? Obviously, they're saying you set up. What would that normally look like? How would that go through with a CAS status? What would you normally do if someone like came in, they've got no idea? Because some of the people I see within these groups, and these guys are great. You listen to this, you're watching this because it's a podcast, but if you're watching this and you see this, there are people who are like, I'm a complete career change. I get it all the time in comments where I'm a police officer and now I'm going to be a mortgage broker. So to go on your own and just be like, and you're thrown in and now you're fully self-employed on your own, having been a broker before and gone through CAS at different places multiple times, more than I would like to admit, to be completely honest, that's hard. So how does that work within Connect?
Okay, so let's do a theoretical situation. All right, you are a police officer. All right, tell you what we've seen a few. We've seen like ex-professional sports people.
Yeah, it's always police officers and ex like rugby, football. It's like performer, like it's the same. Yeah,
military, absolutely.
Teachers as well as another one, school teachers.
Yes.
What I found is any place where they work really hard and are underpaid, so teachers and police, or where they work hard but they're really highly paid and they can't find a job that's going to pay them the same level of income, which is athletes. So that's what I seem to find. Absolutely. So carry on. Sorry, I butted in.
That's all right. Well, the other one's work-life balance. Yes. You've had kids now and you want to spend some time with your kids.
Yeah.
All right, work it around that one. Or you want to pick up your kids from school every now and then and you don't want to be 9 till 5:30. Anyway, we digress. So you come up there, and for the purposes of this, because I'll save one other bomb for later, you've just got your CMAP. Yeah. You've gone somewhere, you've got your CMAP qualification. I want to set up my own firm. Okay, cool. Talk to us. All right, come and talk to us about what your firm's going to look like, what you want it to be. All right, we'll have to do some due diligence on you. Okay, as you'd expect, fit and proper person. You've got to have a clean credit record and no criminal record and all that.
So just to dive into that, just want to. So for people listening to this, what is fit and proper? This is your training hat going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So fit and proper.
Because they won't know.
Sorry. Yeah, good point. So a fit and proper person test. To work in regulated mortgage advice, okay, you need to pass a fit and proper test. Okay, you must be of good character. Okay, I could get into it. Actually, those of you that have done CMAP, it probably talks about it in there, or you certainly did when I was training it. You must be of good character. So what does that mean at a high level? It means your financial affairs need to be in order. You're going to be giving people financial advice. Okay, if you've got, unfortunately, might be the bombs drop, but if you've got a bucket load of CC county court judgments, okay, or defaults, or you're over your limit on all your credit cards, that's not going to look great to be giving financial advice. So that might give you a problem. Okay, again, talk to us. There might be ways and means around it because everybody can have a glitch in life, but there needs to be an explanation for it if there is. Similarly, obviously, there'll be a criminal record DBS check. All right, if you've got a conviction for fraud, it's going to be a problem. All right, because lenders tend to not to want to receive mortgage applications from people who've got a fraud conviction. All right, so assuming, all right, you're a good citizen, you can account for your employment history. I'm saying employment history. We might have some guys fresh out of uni. Fine, your education history. No problem with that.
6 years,
Okay.
isn't it? From when I remember, it's the last.
Yeah.
It's quite deep. It's quite six
Yeah.
years. And I remember my sister. Just for people listen to this, because again, this has never come up on this before, and I think and it does get asked a lot. I think there's bits people think you pass CMAP, done, and then they hear this word CAS, and there's all this stuff that happens in between. But I
Mm.
know with my sister's one, she was a broker as well. She'd gone to Malaysia for 2 weeks on a school trip, and it was like 5 years ago. But because they didn't account for it, they couldn't account for it. She had to go back to the uni. It was like a school uni trip and get like proof. They were quite strict, a lot
Yeah.
strict than I expected when because it was
Yeah.
before. I think she not everyone is like that, but with her, it was because it was Malaysia. They said it was a foreign country that they flagged as a potential risk as to why she'd gone. And she was there. I think it was maybe 2 or 4 weeks. It was 4 weeks. I
Mm.
think it was 4 weeks. Enough that it was like a you've not done something, and it was it was quite. They are quite stringent.
Yeah, we have to account for your whereabouts. So
Yeah,
the classic might have been, again, we're talking people who had a career break here or something along those lines. You've gone traveling for 6 months. Great. We need to see your passport with the stamps in of where you've been traveling.
yeah.
All right. Because otherwise, how do we know that you weren't in prison? Just
No,
I'm a
but it's
bit
true. I
flippant
know the
here,
reason
but
I bring that up
absolutely.
is it's a big point, isn't it? It's people don't realize then they will go forensic nowhere
Yeah.
near as much as if they go wealth. If you do wealth, it's even further,
Yeah.
but it's still pretty intense,
Yeah.
especially if you've never done it before. Once you've done it, like people like me and you have been in the industry for a long time, it's standard. But like you just go, oh, okay, fine, no worries. It's just another year rolling on whenever you move because you have to do it when you move organizations and stuff, don't you? They do the whole
Yeah.
thing again and again. But if someone listening to this and watching this, it would probably be quite. I remember it being the first time for me being like, wow, this is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose on a slight tangent now, but it's worth mentioning to people, particularly if you're looking to get into the industry, guys, just be careful on things like social media, all right, and
Yeah,
where you're
yeah.
putting posts up and so forth, all right, because that is character, and I'm sure nobody's doing it, but if you're trolling people or something along those lines and it's visible, then that's not a good look,
No.
all right, for somebody, and your customers are going to see that as well.
Yeah, political stuff I've seen happen with that.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen both either way, but political. I've had an advisor who got struck off for the stuff they'd posted on there because they said it was bad representation of the network. And I remember thinking,
yeah,
not it wasn't an advisor I trained, but it was like it was one that I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I am friends with him. I do know what he posts, and it's probably not right. So yeah, it's a
yeah.
good point. So carry on. Sorry. So you were saying so you got fit and proper moving into the
So
cast status. Okay.
you've done your fit and proper, okay, all good. All right. Now, so you're gonna start with Connect. Now, you've got your CMAP, brilliant. Okay. You've done CMAP, you have an understanding of the mortgage industry. Has that taught you to be an advisor? I used to train CMAP. I can answer that myself. No, it hasn't. All right. It's giving you a load of handy information. It's giving you loads of information about PRA source books, which you're never going to use. But has it taught you how to have a conversation with a customer and, let's be honest, sell them a mortgage? Because that's what
Yeah.
you do. All right. This is a sales job. It's a good quality sales because you're doing the right thing for people, but it's sales. So that's when you would come into our training academy. Okay. And again, I could talk about this for hours and bore you all silly, but it can be quite bespoke depending on how you want to run your business. Because as we'll see as we go on, particularly with Connect, the advice options that you have are quite broad. Okay, you can do everything from residential mortgages to buy-to-let mortgages to bridging finance to commercial mortgages to unsecured bridging loans to protection to business protection. All right, the list goes on and on. You might not want to do all of them. Fine, come on the training for the stuff you want to. There is
Just
some
want to
core stuff you've got to go on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Just
Ash,
want
go
to
ahead.
I just want to jump in on that just for the people listening to this. So to make that clear to the people, you connect off for all those services. That is not common. And I just
No.
want people to know that because again, that's quite an interesting point is all networks are different. And that's one of the things that is very unique with what you offer is that broad range of services
Yeah.
and a completely, from what I understand, you're not tied to any panel or anything. Is that correct? Or are you paneled in any way?
We have a panel, but our panel, has over 200 lenders and
Yeah.
providers on it.
Got you. So there's
It's
a
a
broad, a very broad. Yeah.
I can't officially say we have the biggest panel out there, but I'd be very
One of
confident.
those, if you can't deal with it, yeah, I know the types. If you can't deal
Yeah.
with it, then they're probably not meant really
Yeah.
necessarily dealt with.
And push comes to shove, we go off panel.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
that's so
So
good.
there's
About,
always
I can imagine you can go off panel as well with
yeah,
an authorization. Yeah, so
yeah,
the reason I just need people to hear that again, it's so interesting for me doing this type of show, different to the show you were on previously, where everybody has an assumed level of knowledge. But I
yeah,
think it's really like important that people know That's not the norm. In fact, it's incredibly rare. It's incredibly
Yeah.
rare. It's what makes you guys very unique.
Yeah. It was a surprise to me when I joined because I had come from the what we might call the vanilla world of doing
Yeah.
residential mortgages and buy to let, and it opened so many doors, opened my eyes a little bit to what is out there and what is possible. All right. And I still get surprised now. We still
Yeah.
have cases go through and I think, how on earth have we made that work? But we have. So so that training will have some core stuff on it. All right. Which funny enough is called core, which is how to go through an advice sales process with a client. What is your journey? At what stage do you do the IDD document? At what stage do you do a fact find? At what stage do you do it? And we give you tools to help you. Obviously, we've got a system that you use,
Yeah.
the CRM system. Okay, how to use that, to manage your diary. It's teaching you a sales process. Okay. Then within all our training, we will have specific products and process days for each type of product. So we will have we'll have a residential knowledge day and a residential process day. We'll have a buy-to-let knowledge day and a buy-to-let process day. We'll have a bridging, actually bridging is one day over the whole thing, and we'll have a commercial day, that's one day over the whole thing. And then other segments that can be done online in learning systems.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of it is interactive training. We use Zoom, as me and Ash are talking through now. And the bad news is that quite often I'm your host. All right. And I'm there to take you through it and teach you and educate you on how to do it. And we do some assessments on the way time. You'll do some case studies. You'll get feedback from me on them afterwards. And I'll come back to you and say, that's good. Have you thought about this, etc. So we're working with you to get you up and able to advise, to get you up and running. Now, quick distinction, you are not yet competent status.
Yeah.
Okay. But you are able to advise under supervision. That's the level we've got you at the moment. And again, this is where a network comes in because we are your supervision.
Yes.
All right. We are supervising you. You can't do that without a network. You can't just go, I've got CMAP and someone show me how to do it because you've got nobody supervising you. Okay. And you must have that supervision level. And that's what we're there.
Finding that supervision is hard. And that's the interesting thing about what Connect offer for people listening. And I found this very interesting is I know lots of networks, lots of people within networks over the years. I know lots of people who do training academies, but I don't know anybody who will do a training academy and this is the thing that's very unique, that the person I was speaking to a couple of days ago, they have a training academy, but their training academy is you can come in without CAS, we will train you, but at the end of CAS, you have to be adopted into a firm that is under us. Or if no one wants to adopt you, you have to go on your way. It's that kind of, you have to be, at the end of the day, you can't go off and then do your own business until you've had proven track record that you've done it for a lot. And that's a couple of years that the specific network will want, which I don't think is wrong. It's just an interesting take because yours is not that, from what I understand. That's great. It's they go in and then if they're competent, from what I understand, tell me if I'm right or wrong, they are their own business. They can run off. And once they're done, they can run their own business.
You can run your own business from that day that I set you loose. You're in your own business. You can have AB mortgages trading. Absolutely.
So question on that, on these type of stuff, and absolutely fine if you don't want to answer this or not. I'm sure you probably will, but it's this interesting thing of I see networks more and more bringing in, especially over the last maybe year and a half, starting to bring in minimum turnover amounts.
Yeah.
I spoke to someone yesterday, they were 50,000 minimum. I've spoke to someone who's 80,000. I've spoke to someone who's 30,000, all different ones. And I understand why they're trying to get rid of people who are on an extreme lifestyle scenario where it's like they do 2 mortgages a month and they're not really doing much else. And there's nothing in it for the network because you make money off of it makes sense. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But does Connect have a minimum income threshold? And if they do have one, how does that work from someone who's starting new and they go off on their own?
Yeah, sure. So officially, no, we don't have them. All right, there isn't one. We do have, you must transact one piece of regulated business every 6 months because
That's for authorization though, isn't it?
That's for
like
authorization, the FCA. Yeah, exactly. Any piece of regulated business could be a GI policy. All right, could be a protection policy, could be a residential mortgage.
And
okay,
that's for people listening. Sorry, but people listen. That's standard across everything because that is a So that's not like you've told me to do that. That's if you meet people who are principals, advise if they still want to be advising principals, they have to do that even if they've got a firm of 400 advisors. They still have to do one piece of advice every 6 months. So that's cool. Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
I just
No, that's all right. So that's fine. So in terms of minimums, what I would say is no, we don't have an official one. Okay. Having said that, all right, in terms of how the network makes money, all
yeah.
right, as Ash has already alluded to, we take a cut of the commission. All right.
Yeah.
Of the commission paid by the lender, by the way, any fees you charge, we don't touch. All
That's
right. We
good.
don't touch anything you charge a client. That's all yours. But
And
we will,
that's good. I like that. I think most anyone who takes fees, I'm a little bit skeptical on that.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
like that.
So we will take a cut of the commission, but we also charge you a monthly fee.
Mhm.
All right. For permissions. If you haven't written any business for 5 months and we've taken 500 quid off you in that time, are we doing right by you? So let's have a conversation. Do you need support? Do you need help? How can we support you to get off the ground and running? Or is this really for you? Okay, so we might end up having conversations at that point and seeing where you are, because in theory, yeah, great. We could take on 10,000 people to pay us 100 quid a month and just sit there and give them nothing, and we're earning a few quid out of that.
Yeah.
What's the point? It's not right for all of you guys. So there isn't any official no, but we want to make it work for everybody at the end of the day. It's about having grown-up conversations, and we might have people that are doing this while they're doing something else. All right. The classic might be, I don't know, estate agent, letting agent is your main business, and you might do the odd bit of mortgage business along the way. You might have your own buy-to-let property portfolio and you're going to do that. Cool, do that.
So that's quite, do you see that quite common at the moment or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people, we've quite a few recently. I'll see somebody who's a letting agent or a recruitment agent. We've had a guy who's been an insurance broker and wanted to open up wanted to do a few mortgages, because you get asked about accountants.
Yeah. I've seen that a few accountants recently moving into it. I weirdly like that's weird you mentioned it, because I have seen quite a few who have gone into protection and then from protection been like, actually, I may as well just do the mortgages. And especially from accountants, you make more money in mortgages than you do in accountants for the work you do. So it's an interesting.
Or an accountant that maybe wants to employ an advisor and put into their firm. The accountant can't give the supervision because they're not a CAS status person. So employ the advisor in their firm, set up. I'm Jim Selly Accountant, set up Jim Selly Financial Services on the side. That's a subsidiary company of it, and we'll do the supervision for that person.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that. That's really cool. And it does make sense as well, as you say, about this idea of there is a minimum level, even though it's not. It's the minimum level of if you're inactive. Technically, if you're inactive, then yeah, we won't do that. And then when it comes to, I don't want to know percentages because I understand that, but what people want people to know is how that kind of works. So from what I understand, from what I know from general networks is when people come in, they get given a deal, and if they write more business, usually that deal then can be negotiated more and more. Is that similar to what you guys have? So as you write certain larger income levels, you can negotiate.
So we, and again, I won't do the percentages as you rightly say. So we
I'll get in hot water if you do percentages, because everything is all that's all politics at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So we have effectively bronze, silver, gold, platinum level. All right. And that's to do with how much business you write over a quarter. The more business you write over a quarter, the higher up the levels you go, the lower percentage we take. Simple as that. So you're keeping a bigger slice of your profit. So if you write more business, great. We also have within that, we have things like, and I'm getting a bit product specific here, but we have a bridging expert league. And if you do a certain number of bridging cases, then we give you a higher cut of the percentage on bridging cases. So if you want to specialize in that area, I encourage you to do that side of things. So
that's really cool. And then one of the things that we spoke about off air is your training academy. Before we get to the kind of bombshell at the end, which we'll save that for the end, which is the really interesting one, which blew my mind completely. I never even thought about it until you'd said that. But the training academy, there is tiers to this, isn't there? So there's different levels of service and where you can come into. And so could you explain that for the people listening?
Yeah, so I suppose there's two different tiers within it. So I touched on it earlier that you can have the permissions you want. All right. So for example, if you want to do residential mortgages and protection only come on the training for the core system stuff, the residential and the protection. All right. Don't bother coming on commercial and buy to let, because sorry, not commercial and buy to let. Everybody will do buy to let. Commercial and bridging. All right. Because you don't want to do them. That's fine. You might not want to do them now. You might want to do them in 6 months when you start getting some inquiries. Cool. Come back.
Yeah.
All right. And also, actually, just tangent on that, if you come on the academy in January and then suddenly in July think, oh, I can't remember that, come on again. I'm running them every month. Come again.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any difference to me if I've got 5 or 6 people on it. All right. And they tend to be that sort of size, up to about
Yeah, they
10.
will normally
They're
be.
not massive classes or anything. But also in terms of what you want to get. So we have a basic academy, and then we are just launching something we call the Academy Boost. And what the Academy Boost does come at a higher cost. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
into specifics of cost necessarily, but it means we'll give you a lot more support and help on things like lead generation. Okay, so we'll give you a marketing database system. We will give you the names of a load of introducers in your area that you can approach for a business. We will give you an initial, I think it's 25 leads to get you off and running. Okay,
Nice.
on the first cases. We'll help you design your website and a landing page. We'll give you a vouch for profile so you can get mentioned in, some of you may have seen it, like the Sunday Times bestseller list and so forth, and you can use that as a marketing tool. We'll help you with your social media. It goes on and on. All right. We'll invite you to events that could come on where we get expert speakers in on marketing or certain products and so forth. And basically, I've got to be careful how I say this, an extra level of support from the team. I'd like to think our team give you a lot of support anyway. All
Yeah.
right. But we will literally be, for your first, I think it's a couple of months, we'll be doing weekly check-ins with you. How you doing? What you need some help with?
More accountability, isn't it? And more,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Which
You
I
know,
think is on all of that. Just quickly on that, I think that first of all, as I say, as someone who is, I'm like a business coach for mortgage brokers, predominantly mortgage marketing, things like that. All of the things you just said then is very hard for people, someone to set up, and they're things you need. So vouch for page, a landing page, getting your first leads, they are like, people will look at that. I'm just saying, for people listening to this, you might look at it and go, oh, it's not a big deal. That's the stuff that when I speak to people, they're like, I can't do that and also do the job and also do. It's the hardest bit to do.
yeah.
Getting a website off the ground, because the majority of people who do that don't even know how to do a website. So they're
Yeah.
starting off and then they realize, well, to be authorized, you need the website, because you need the website in order to do, and it's a whole thing. So I think that what you're offering there is a brilliant, that's like a starter toolkit. I love it. I think it's a really
Yeah,
it will probably increase the likelihood that you're not I'm guessing, not having that conversation in 5 months' time going, look, well, you haven't done anything.
yeah, absolutely. I suppose this is slightly tangential, but probably worth my individual statements of my team's targets. My main target that I literally look at is how long till people get their first application in.
Yeah.
That is my key area of focus for my team and where I drive this business. That is the one thing I'm measured on more than anything else, and I measure myself on. And I'm just always looking to bring that down. So it is only in everybody's interest to get you off and running as quick as possible.
Completely agree. Completely. You were saying something else before, and I butted in. Sorry, we don't know where we're going.
I can't remember what was it. Yeah, no, I think we actually call it the business boost.
Yeah.
All right, it's the Academy Boost. We call it the business boost. It should give you a boost on it. And in fact, all right, again, I'm not going to talk about specific
Yeah,
amounts,
of course.
but we do have a guarantee built in. Okay. And I'm just trying to remember this. I think it is, just trying to use my brain. The guarantee is if you don't get 3 times the amount you paid for that business boost in commissions in the first year, we give you 6 months free membership to the network as well. So we're prepared to back it. We think it'll work because as long as you're doing all the things we ask you to do,
Again,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got it. Yeah, if you don't do the things, then yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
That, and they will, that will work, because the stuff that you're saying there is all the stuff they need to do. So let's circle back around to the last bit, which is the bombshell bit you wanted
Yeah.
to talk about, and we alluded right at the beginning. I'll let you take that away, because it's something
Okay.
it blew my
Cool.
mind when we actually spoke about this on the show, which this will be out before our interview, so it's a long time before. So people who listen to this want to see it. Our interview that we went to was more specific on training and people within the industry, but this was the end of the interview. You said this, and I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I blew my mind. So go ahead, take the stage, Jim.
Thank you very much. All right. So we've been talking all the way. I'm assuming we've said that this audience potentially is you've just got CMAP. What if you're just thinking about getting CMAP? What if you just think, I don't even know about CMAP? All right. But I want to be a mortgage broker. You can. You can't do regulated residential mortgages, but you do not need CMAP to do unregulated buy-to-lets or bridging or unregulated bridging finance or unregulated commercial mortgages or protection. So if you want to come go through the training for those areas and just advise in those areas. Okay. Before you've got your C, you might never intend to get your CMAP and just be a broker in those areas. Cool. If you are going to get your CMAP, come on and get those, work towards it. And then when you've got it, you can do the residential stuff as well.
Carry on.
I was just going to say, come one, come all. You are all welcome under the Connect roof.
I love that. And it's very true. That's for people listening to this on that, because I was, again, blown away by it and then thought, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. Like it's like a logical thing. I remember being first taught, and people who listen to this, a little bit of sales training, you like, this is like selling people income protection before they even look for the house, because if you protect the income, you ensure the fact that the house will actually go ahead and purchase. When I learned that when I was an advisor and increased my insurance sales dramatically, it was such a weird thing. I was like, everyone was like, no. And then when you do it, you're like, yeah, that's really logical. Like it makes sense. And this is when it was one of the only other time I've had that moment was when you were on the podcast where I was like, wow. And then I was like, no, that's obvious. How has no one ever thought of that? That's such an obvious thing. And yet it's never spoken about. So for people who are listening to this or watching this, I keep saying listen to this because I keep thinking podcast, but it's not. That's the non-regulated. So that you have to be regulated, and you have to have CMAP in order to be regulated. Or CMAP equivalent, CII, things like that.
Yeah, to give advice on regulated mortgage products.
So what, for people listening to this, what is the difference between regulated and non-regulated? Because they won't.
Yeah, so
really grasp that.
while there's some nuances and subtleties within this, because we can start getting into consumer buy-to-let and so on and so forth.
Yeah, don't worry, we don't have to go really deep into that.
Yeah, we're not going to go techie on it.
Broad strokes, what's the difference?
Yeah, high level, if it's a house that the individual is not going to live in, so they're buying it for business purposes and income generating purchases, such as the buy-to-let market or a commercial landlord or something like that, it's non-regulated.
And what does non-regulated mean?
So non-regulated means that business is not regulated by the FCA. So it has no requirement for CMAP. It means the client has less comeback potentially, which I'm not necessarily saying is a good thing, but they need to be made aware of it. But so it's all very well and good. You think some of you might be thinking, why can't I just go and do that? There's no regulation on it. Because although the loans aren't regulated, the lenders will only accept business if you're from if it's from a regulated company.
Yes. it's like a chicken and the egg scenario, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. That's where having your FCA number and being part of Connect, but you'll need to be able to submit business to them.
Yeah. Because I do know that's the bit, isn't it? Is that you can't get in without the lenders won't let you in.
Exactly.
So it's not okay.
But because you've got our protection, all right, or not our protection, sorry, but yeah, no, our regulation, supervision, I keep using that.
Supervision,
all right, for want of a better phrase on there, that gives you that ability to do that. And also, I think I should just disclaim that's really important, although it's non-regulated, obviously, because we're putting our name to it as part of your protection, there's a standard and a quality of advice, etc., that's expected. All right,
so the whole lot, everything's the same. It's just, and which I can imagine in some ways, if you're somebody, this would be a very select few people who would be interested in this scenario. But if you're someone who's, I'm chomping at the bit, I've got people ready to go, I'm in the buy to, like you said, a great one being like a lettings agent or someone who is, I've got a ton of landlords. I can do that buy to let stuff and it's not regulated. I don't need to get qualified, and I can get qualified as I go along and still make money on it. It's quite a unique way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's giving people the opportunity to get in as early as possible. And of course, we want to make sense. Again, I come back to, and I should probably we're going to take this right back to where we started about due diligence and so forth. All right. You do need to come into this with a plan, all of you, all right, on how things are going to happen. Like I've said, we've got options that we can get you your initial leads. But if you come to us and say, brilliant, I want to join Connect, we'll have a conversation and say, okay, where are you going to get your customers from?
Yeah.
Right. Well, friends and family. Okay. What happens when they run out? What are you doing then? Because otherwise, we're going to be doing exactly what I said earlier we don't want to do, which is just taking money off you and you're not doing anything. What's the great for us?
It's quite stringent. I remember the business plan when I went as an AR, because I'd been under ARs and all that other stuff before for a long time. Just similar quality, corporate, then in financial planning, and then all that type of stuff. But I remember being an AR properly. and the business plan bit that it is sat down. But I actually, funny story, and that people who listen to this, because it'll maybe age me, but also say I was one of the first people in the UK to do video marketing as a broker. And I remember my BDMs who say, sit down, and they go, how are you going to generate leads? And I was like, social media. And they were like, okay, but we don't even know if that works. So how else? And I was like, social media. And it just and in the end, luckily the guy, Ian was the guy at the time. He was like, we'll say you're going to buy leads. So then we'll put it down. Cause he said, cause I don't think they'll pass it if you don't. And
Yeah.
obviously it worked. And here we are now, but it was one of those, and everybody has my career, but it was one of those things that like that level of business, why I'm saying that is the plan is very important. I had a very specific plan. It was just way earlier than what people were. I was
Yeah.
a very early adopter in it, but they were that, again, going back to the fit and proper from my own experience, it was a very deep plan. I did have to, it's not massively deep, but it's, if you've never done a business plan before, which quite a lot of people coming into this wouldn't have, they're normally employed and moving to some thing. You do need to be able to demonstrate, like, how are you going to do this?
Yeah. Absolutely, because and you want to do that for your own common sense. You need to demonstrate. You need to know it because
Yeah,
otherwise
exactly.
you
It's
can
not negative for you. It's not a thing in a
throwing money at
network.
a wall for something that may not work.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I love that.
Yeah.
Jim, mate, it's been great. People want to learn more about Connect. They want to
Yeah.
learn more about the training academy. They want to learn more about joining you, working with you. Where do they go? What do they do?
So simple Google of Connect for Intermediaries will take you to our website. All right. And you can go on there. You can, don't know if you could put my contact details or LinkedIn in the chat for
Can do,
this,
yeah.
Ash. If
Can do, yeah,
you
if you want to.
go for it and reach out to us, reach out to any of our business relationship managers. Again, you can find them through LinkedIn. Emma Roberts, Tom White, Darren Fletcher, and our recruitment manager is a lady called Tracy Robinson. But I think I've given you a few links and so forth to use, Ash, and so forth.
Yeah.
Or the last name you could reach out to if you're really desperate is you could try Jim Sally. That's me.
Yeah. And if not, guys, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to, I can
Yeah,
put you in the
yeah,
right
I'll speak
direction
to
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put you in the right direction. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, Ash. Take care.